I guess you could subscribe if you absolutely want to. Alright, Catanians, we are back with Cities and Knights. Do you like this expansion? Is it too much for you to handle? Is the strategy just off the charts fun? Now, I came across someone who is a huge board game aficionado, and they play stuff like already blanking on all the names of it, but Armada. Armada was one of them. Basically, he told me that Basic Catan was like child's play in terms of strategy board games, and he said that he did not try out the Cities and Knights expansion. And I was telling him that for me, it was a big step up in strategic gameplay, and he was like, "Well, even so, Armada and many other board games that I have are way higher on the strategy scale." And I believed him. They looked pretty intimidating. So maybe I'll have to check those out later down the road as a next step in my board game repertoire. Get that under my belt. But for now, we're playing some Cities and Knights. No Seafarers expansion, just straight up Cities and Knights. And I decided to place my starting settlement on the 2 or 4 sheep, 6 sheep, considering that I would later be able to upgrade that to a city and then get those commodities, not really coin off a 2, but mainly get some cloth off the 4 and the 6. And then I threw the city down on the 5 wheat with the 9 wood, 10 wood, because I wanted paper and I wanted it fast. And I was hoping that I could get the science bonus pretty early on in the game, assuming I can keep my city before the barbarian, or when the barbarians rush in to invade. Now, as you'll see, only 3 players, so the board is pretty wide open, especially the top half of the board. If we had a 4th player, it would have gotten pretty crowded in here. And of course, 12 gets rolled. What is it with Cities and Knights, maybe all the expansions, but in the first, 5 or so dice rolls, there's either a 2 or a 12 in almost every game I've played in the last, 20 games. Seriously, I don't know what's going on. And then, of course, there's always at least 1 7, which helps no one at all. And if the barbarians are rolled, then it's just really detrimental to the gameplay. Stresses me out because I'm like, I want resources. I want to progress. I don't want to get held back and then have to destroy my city because the barbarians invaded and I wasn't able to get an activated knight out on the board. So yeah, the top half of the board wide open, and I'm really eyeballing that 8 wheat after I get on this wheat port off of the 10 lumber. So if I can get on that 10 lumber, then I might sneak up all the way to the lumber port on and get the 8 wheat, so I can get another number. I can get a wheat hex additional to my 5 and get the lumber port that will complement my 9 and 10 lumber. I'm like, foolproof strategy, right? Assuming the dice rolls go my way. Because I've had games, and I just had one recently that I'll post, where the game was going my way. The first 70% of the game, I had it in the bag. And then things later in the game got wild. But that's another video for another day. Now, the only person I'm worried about encroaching on my territory is purple, obviously, because orange is stuck at that bottom section of the board. Really, the only realistic way they have out is if they can right now cut up right through the middle of the board and cut off purple from building on that 6 wheat, 5 lumber, 11 brick. But it's not likely, so I think they're going to have to, if they really want to expand a lot, they're going to have to go around the outside to the right, go up the 10 lumber, up the 9 ore, and then maybe sneak around. But if I was them, I wouldn't even want to go past the 9 ore because there's a 12 above you, and knowing that we're playing Cities and Knights, the inventor card does not allow you to swap 2s, 6s, 8s, or 12s on the board. Which I understand the 6s and 8s because that would just be way too overpowered, but I don't understand why you... Well, I guess it makes sense because you could just throw a 12 on someone, steal their 5, and then that resource will basically never get rolled again, maybe once. So I guess it does make sense. But there is Alchemist to combat that, as well as just other inventor cards in the green progress card stack. But anywho, I would not build past that 9 ore because you run to the 12, And then after that, assuming that purple ends up building on the other spot for the 6 wheat, touching the 3 ore and the 12 brick, there's not really many good numbers to get to. You'd have to fight your way all the way to the 4 at the top of the board. I mean, if you were successful in doing all that, you'd probably end up taking longest road. But, that's very, very unlikely in this game. It can happen, but it's just not likely because you're more focused on city improvements, upgrading settlements to cities, and getting a metropolis in cities and knights. At least that should be your focus, because that's mine. It usually ends up working out. But now let me draw your attention to the title of the video. I guess that's why you clicked on it. You probably already read it. But how important are Defender of Catan victory points to you in your gameplay of Cities and Knights? If you do play. If you don't play Cities and Knights, thanks for tuning in. I hope you can pick up a thing or two from watching my gameplays, and maybe you can download or buy the Cities and Knights expansion yourself and try it out. It's a lot of fun. If you're not comfortable playing online yet, play against computers in the app, either in the Catan Universe app or get the Catan Classic app, or find some other one online somewhere that you can download on the computer or something. But it is a lot of fun, especially once you start figuring out different strategies that work based on your initial starting settlement and city placements. So for me, Defender of Catan victory points they're kind of middle of the road. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 of importance as we get defeated, by the way. But I was the only one with an activated knight. So this is very satisfying for me. I love keeping my city while the other two players have to downgrade their city, because now they have to fight back to get just to where they were to get a city. And you'll see orange is not built on any wheat, and they're not built on any ore whatsoever. So they're going to have a very, very difficult time. Even just getting a settlement is going to be hard. They're going to have to 4 for 1 to get a wheat, to get a settlement. They have the other 3 resources they need for a settlement, but it's going to be very tough for them to even get a settlement, if much less a city on the board. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to be able to pull that off. So basically, my only competition at this point that I can really gauge is purple, because they do have a settlement on that 6 wheat 9 ore. So they're going to get a city here. It's just going to be a matter of time. But I'm wondering, because they didn't even build a single knight, if now they're only focused on getting a city back on the board, maybe I can just keep taking Defender of Catan victory points, because I'm the only one with a knight, and maybe this way I can win at least 5 or 6 times with the barbarians coming in. And maybe that's how I win this game. Maybe a huge factor are the Defender of Catan victory points. So that's our discussion today. So I think they're middle of the road in terms of importance, maybe about a 5 on the scale of 1 to 10. I think they're kind of supplemental, in my opinion. You more so want the cities. You want the city improvements that will start bringing in progress cards. Then you want metropolises, because that's going to give you an extra 2 victory points. That's going to protect whatever city that metropolis is on when the barbarians invade. So knights kind of take a back seat after you have metropolises out on the board. And then Defender of Catan victory points are just kind of that cherry on top, that, extra, thumbs up for you when barbarians invade. You just happen to have, some knights out on the board. And especially when the barbarians are very close to invading, and sometimes you can steal Defender of Catan from someone else because they were thinking they were about to win it. But if you have, for example, the blue progress card Deserter, you can play it on someone, and they have to give you one of their knights. If that knight is already activated, it is given to you, and you get it activated on your team, on your bundle of knights. So keep that in mind. If it's deactivated, you're going to receive it deactivated. So you can steal knights away with Deserter, especially if you do it right before the barbarians invade. Then the next dice roll, they invade. You have all your knights upgraded, and they're more powerful than the other teams or other colors' knights. You're going to get extra victory point when they thought they were going to. So that's another good strategy item to consider. So I'm going to go ahead and activate my knight. I don't have another sheep and an ore to upgrade it to a level 2 knight, so it's stuck at level 1. I see the barbarians are getting close, but they're not going to quite invade just yet. Purple has a knight on the board. It's not activated. I'm wondering if they have a wheat from a 6 dice roll, or if they've been considering spending it on maybe a settlement, because they're at that point where they could throw down a settlement on the 5 lumber, 6 wheat, 11 brick, or if they want to upgrade that settlement to a city on the 6 wheat, 9 or 10 lumber. Now, 10 rolls, my favorite commodity comes in, paper, but I do need another paper to get to level 2, and barbarians are getting closer. I'm going to get to move the robber for the 7. Of course, I'm going to put it on that 6 wheat, because I can't have purple having a chance to activate their knight, much less upgrade it. So if that happens, and what do you know, another 10 rolls in with the barbarians advancing, now I'm at 2 paper. And I really, really want the science bonus. Again, try to get the science bonus as quickly as you can. That way, you have that peace of mind as I get a 3rd paper. So you have that peace of mind that you can always get a resource no matter what dice roll is rolled, except for a 7. If 7's rolled, you do not get to take advantage of the science bonus. So now I'm going to get the level 2 on the science bonus. I have a paper in reserve. I just need 2 more paper, and then I get the science bonus, and then we're rolling. Now, so far, if purple does not activate their knight, I'm going to get a Defender of Catan victory point. That is going to be my first Defender of Catan victory point in the game. And because the game is still so young, we're going all the way to 13 victory points. I have a good feeling that I'm going to get more Defender of Catan victory points. So the dice roll is... drum roll, please. It is... awkward timing. Roll the dice. There it is. So they rolled a 6. The barbarians invaded. There was only 1 city on the board, therefore 1 barbarian strength. I get the Defender of Catan victory point because I had the only activated knight on the entire board. What do you know? And 6 was rolled, and purple did not get a wheat, but they already had a wheat from something else. So they do, in fact, plop a city down on the board. And I am also on a 6, so I get a sheep. And now, at this point, I'm like, okay, let me go for another Defender of Catan victory point. Let me activate that knight, but let me also start to think about getting a city on the 6 sheep, 4 sheep, and the 2 ore. Because if I can do that, I can now start bringing in cloth commodities, and I can think about upgrading my knights. So I can definitely, for sure, beat out purple in the Defender of Catan victory point race. So a nice 4 is rolled. Again, if I had a city on that right now, I'll be rolling. But I do get the science bonus. So now, for sure, if a 5 is not rolled over the next 5, 6 rolls, I can still guarantee that I'll either get the science bonus and thus get a wheat, or if all of my numbers get rolled over 6 dice rolls, then I'll for sure be able to 4-for-1 something, whether it be lumber or sheep. If not wheat, because I'll be getting 2 wheat in off of a 5. So 2 5s would net me 4 wheat. But I wouldn't need 4-for-1 because I just need 1 wheat. So that would be even better, actually. I'm sitting at 5 sheep, and 8 gets rolled. I'm not on that 8 wheat yet, but I really want to be. I do advance the barbarians. I do get aqueduct, so I'll take the wheat. So instead of 4-for-1ing my sheep, I'll just aqueduct a wheat, activate my knight, and now I'm like, maybe I could start thinking about 4-for-1 this sheep. So I'm like, let me take a brick, and it's better that I go for the wheat port here, in my opinion. I could try to go down the stone port, but I only have a 2 ore, so that's the only ore coming in. I could go for the 3-for-1 port, but there's not many chances for me to get brick, so I can't build a lot of roads, and I don't want to just build one road down to the 3-for-1 port because I'd only have a settlement on that 2 ore. I want to go one road further to the other 3-for-1 spot so I could put the settlement on the 2 ore and the 5 wheat, because why not triple down on the wheat then and start getting 3 wheat off of 5, and then later I could get to that wheat port. But instead, off of that hypothetical train of thought, let me just build a road to the wheat port spot, triple down on the 10 so I can get 2 lumber and a paper off of 10. And I'm also eyeballing purple because now they want to get on the third and final 6 wheat position. Again, very smart for them to do. And at this point, it's going to help them in the long run because having a triple down on the 6 wheat and gaining a number, they're going to gain a 3 and get another ore hex. They can now potentially get a city even faster because if 3 and 9 start hitting on the dice rolls, if they get the occasional 6 when the robber's somehow not on them, I'm going to keep it on that 6 as much as I can this game because none of the other numbers for the other players are as important, in my opinion, as that 6 wheat. So I'm going to see what I can do to keep it there. The barbarians advance again. If purple does not activate their knight, if the barbarians do not get rolled on their turn, but if they do, and they do. So 8 gets rolled. I'm still sad that I don't get that 8 wheat, but I get a second Defender of Catan victory point. So as we're keeping track, I am on par. If I can keep this up, get Defender of Catan every single time that the barbarians invade, I might get 5 or 6 Defender of Catan victory points. And now we start to realize just how important the Defender of Catan strategy can be and Defender of Catan in general can be. Now, in terms of the strategy, if you have a game like this, it is very important. It is very beneficial for you to take advantage of that while the other players cannot. And purple decides to leave or they got kicked or something, they might have just left. I was surprised because if I was purple, I would have stuck in there, seeing as they had the opportunity to build out to other things as they were just about to build on the third 6 wheat spot. And orange, I would have thought orange would have left before purple would have left because orange is really struggling here. Although they do take longest road, and I just realized once they get on that sheep port spot on that 10 lumber, they're going to be rocking and rolling because now they have a 3 sheep, 4 sheep, and a 6 sheep. So trading in at a 2-for-1 rate to get that stone and ore and wheat they desperately need for their first city back out on the board, that's actually not a bad strategy they're employing. Hats off to them. But I still hope I can pull this off, this win, over them. And of course now for purple, now that it's a computer. Because you can't let a computer beat you in Catan. If that happens, we gotta talk. There's gotta be some sort of Catan therapy to set up if you get beat by a computer, because that is just very sad and humiliating. I'm sorry. Unless somehow the developers change computers to have like a really expert setting that's actually expert and they actually play very well and don't trade you at like 2-for-1 trades that favor you. But that's another story. So at this point, Defender of Catan strategy is in full effect. Good on you, Orange, for actually building on that sheep port. And now Orange has 4 settlements on the board. They have longest road. A 6 gets rolled. They're getting some more sheep. They're rocking and rolling. So the Defender of Catan strategy is good. Defender of Catan victory points in general are pretty good because not only do you +1 in your victory point category, those can never be taken away. Let's realize that metropolises can be stolen, longest road can be stolen, merchant can be stolen. Am I forgetting anything else that can be stolen in this game? Technically a city, but it just gets downgraded to a settlement if the barbarians defeat, the island and somehow a player used deserter on you right before the barbarians rolled in and you weren't expecting to be down in knight strength compared to the other players. But Defender of Catan victory points, once you get them, they are set in stone. They are yours for the rest of the game. It's essentially the same as drawing a victory point card out of the development card stack when playing basic Catan or Seafarers, and having it for the rest of the game. It's all yours, can never be stolen. So that is one very, very good pro of going for Defender of Catan and its importance overall in the Cities and Knights expansion. So at this point, I have Smith on dock. I am going to upgrade both of my knights to level 2 knights. Now I have knight strength of 4. If purple even thinks about activating their knights, they will have knight strength of 2 at the most, and then they will have to worry about upgrading those knights or building more knights on the board. So at this point, I am very comfortable. I already have 2 Defender of Catan victory points under my belt. If I can get a third and upgrade one of my 2 settlements on the board to a city, we are rocking and rolling. Even more rocking and rolling than orange, because orange desperately needs a city on the board to kind of really get back in this game. So a 9 gets rolled. Notice that purple, not only do they get an ore, they also get a lumber, but that also means they get a paper and a lumber off of a 9. I don't roll a 7, even though I had way more than 7 cards. Aqueduct comes in hot for me at a crucial moment, because at this point I'm like, man, I really want that city, but I also really want a metropolis. So at this point I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of right in between both. But I was like, you know what? I have a wheat port. Let's just get the metropolis now and worry about the city after. If I can secure the metropolis, now I don't have to worry about for the rest of the game. I have those extra 2 victory points on my side. There's really not a chance another player's going to steal it. Eventually, if they upgrade to a city on a lumber hex and waited enough turns to collect all that paper and upgrade city improvements, they could do it. But just, you can see we're already a little bit past halfway in this point in the game, and just the time constraint. I'm going to win if the game keeps going this way in a certain amount of turns, and it's not going to take forever. So if it took 50 turns, sure, I could see, purple coming back and stealing my metropolis. But I think the game's going to be over in maybe around 20, 25 turns. But we'll see how it plays out. Now, I have my metropolis. I can now focus on getting another city out on the board, because purple just put out their first city. So they're kind of back in business. Orange still needs one, but Aqueduct comes in favor for me. I'm like, you know what? Let me get that lumber port, because the barbarians are about to come in. I'm about to win off of that, get my 3rd Defender of Catan victory point right here. Thank you very much for that. So now I have 3 under my belt. Belt's getting a little heavy there, hanging all these Defender of Catan victory points off of it. So I'm going to need to upgrade my belt. How many resources does that cost? And I'm going to get on that lumber port and get the 8 wheat. Now, another thing you got to think about, I did take the metropolis pretty early on in the game. I usually don't wait. Sometimes in basic Catan, you don't want to make yourself highly targetable. You don't want to build up to 8 victory points very early on and then start having people shutting down your good numbers and good resources, and then hold you back for a while so they can catch up and potentially steal the win. In Cities and Knights, I don't really hold back. I go full throttle, because getting the metropolis protects the city. You also get that 4th level of city improvements, so you're getting more progress cards, and so it just really accelerates your game and allows you to do more things later on at a faster rate, because more resources are coming in, more progress cards are coming in. You have that peace of mind that your city is safe, and you know that if anyone wants to steal your metropolis, they have to go up to level 5 in the city improvements of that particular color, and that's very hard to do. I've done it a few times. I've had it done to me a few times, but it's very far and few between that happens. So, for getting metropolises on your cities, I say go full throttle. Just get them as quickly as you can, and then that it's pretty much set in stone for the rest of the game. You just have to keep an eye on other players' city improvement levels to make sure they're not getting close to stealing your metropolis. Other than that, you should be okay. So now, Inventor, I did use that. I swapped out my 10 for a 4. So now if a 4 gets rolled, I'm going to get sheep, and I'm also going to get lumber and paper. Another reason, whenever I get an Inventor, I try to grab a number that I already have, such that if I get Alchemist, remember, because I'm already getting green progress cards coming in, there's a good chance I'll later get Alchemist, so I combo those in a way. It's not a direct combo, because sometimes I don't get to use them right back to back, but I anticipate getting Alchemist so that I can Alchemist that number that I doubled down on. So now that I have 2 4s on the board, of course I'm going to Alchemist a 4 if I get Alchemist, so I can get 4 cards off of that 1 progress card play. So I just think that's another strategy tip to keep in mind. So at this point, I'm at 10 victory points. I have 3 Defender of Catan victory points under my belt with a 4th on the way. Orange only has 1 activated knight. Purple only has 1 activated knight. So I'm pretty certain a 4th Defender of Catan victory point is on its way for me. Now I do plop down my 2nd city on the board. And now that I have 1 Metropolis in the bag, I'm like, you know what? If 4s and 6s start getting rolled a lot, I'm going to get another Metropolis. And then couple that with the Defender of Catan victory point coming my way, that'll be the win that I need. That'll be the 3 victory points I need to grab me this victory in the game. So 11 victory points. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, I either just need 2 Defender of Catan victory points, 1 Metropolis, or a Defender of Catan victory point, and a city, or another settlement on the board. So it's really I have multiple options. And that's another good strategy tip I want to throw out there. Having multiple ways to win when you're close to winning in any expansion, in any version of Catan, whether you be at 8 victory points in basic Catan and you need to get to 10, or you're in Cities and Knights, you're at 11 victory points and you need to get to 13. Having multiple ways to win is super helpful, because anytime you're close to winning, all the other players start honing in on that fact, and they're going to start stealing from you. They're going to shut down your stuff. They're going to take advantage of you in any way they can to slow your progress down. So if they can't really figure out what you're trying to do, they're not really going to know the best way to shut you down or hold you back. And thus, if you could win by building a settlement or a city, waiting on Defender of Catan, trying to get a Metropolis, having all these different ways to win, and, needing all different combinations of cards, that it's going to be very hard for them to try to stop you. There's my 4th Defender of Catan victory point. I am at 12 victory points. Now at this point, all I need to do is upgrade a settlement to a city or build a road and a settlement. I would prefer upgrade the settlement to a city, because that's only going to cost me 5 cards, whereas building a road and a settlement will cost me 6 cards. But it just depends on the dice rolls and what type of resources I get coming in, because it might just be better to go for the 6 card option, get the road and the settlement, or I may just wait for the barbarians to come around one more time, grab my 13th and final victory point off a Defender of Catan, and then be out of here with a victory like that. Because looking at the board, I can kind of sit back and relax. I can rest on my laurels, so to speak, because Orange is at 7. They do have Longest Road, but I'm not really worried about Longest Road, because they can have it, they can keep it. I don't need to worry about stealing it from them. It would probably take me 2 more rounds of Barbarians before I could steal Longest Road for them if I absolutely put my mind to it. I have Smith in my back pocket, but if all I have to do is activate my 2 knights and have way more knight strength than any other player on the board, so that's not really a concern. At this point, there's only, let's count, 1, 2, 3 cities on the board, so all I have to do is have 3 knights or more in strength, which I do. I have 4. I get Inventor, so yeah, I'm really not worried. Purple, although they are an AI, they do a very smart move. They build a road and they put that knight at that intersection on the coastline of the 9 or 12 brick. That is very smart because now it cuts Orange off from building any further up that area unless they can build 2 more roads to the knight, upgrade one of their knights to a level 2, and then battle with that knight to take that position, and then continue building up around the coastline on the board. But I just don't see that happening. The Barbarians advance again, 1, 2, 3, 4 more Barbarian advancements, and I get a Defender of Catan victory point, and I win the game. It's as simple as that. So yeah, Defender of Catan is a great strategy to employ if things go your way like they did this game. If you're constantly fighting it out with another player for a Defender of Catan and you're just spending, I would say, more than half of your resources just trying to do that, then I would say it's not really worth it, especially if they keep tying you in Knight Strength and instead of getting Defender of Catan, you simply win a progress card and they also win a progress card. I would say then it's not really that important or that worth it to be going for Defender of Catan. But this game, it works out beautifully. But again, it just depends on the game. It depends on the board. It depends on where you place your starting city and settlement and where they place their starting city and settlement. It just depends on so many factors. Cities and Knights is just full of strategy and full of the game could change and go your way. Halfway through the game, it could start going another player's way. Anything can happen. So many things can shift around. There's so many moving parts. I do have to discard 4 resources, but at this point, I'm like, you know what? I don't really need resources anymore. I just need my knights to stay activated. I need them to be more powerful than the other players' knights. And yeah, Barbarians are 2 spots away. And I get my juicy 13th victory point, which would be a 5th Defender of Catan victory point. Keep in mind, that is just over a third of the Catan victory points that I would need to win this game. 5 out of 13 victory points coming exclusively from Defender of Catan. That's pretty darn good. All right, let me get a drink of water before my mouth goes dry. All right, throat feels a lot better. Okay, so 9 gets rolled. I could build a road if I absolutely wanted to, but I'm like, you know what? Come on, Barbarians, let's get these rolls coming in. What do I roll? I roll a 10 with a blue dice. So I'm like, okay, I'm still waiting. No problem. It'll just be a few more turns here. And Aqueduct, I'll just take whatever I want. I'm like, you know what? Let me just tease. Let me tease Orange that I'm going to try to go for Longest Road. That way, Orange can be like, uh-oh, my Longest Road's in danger. I got to build out some more knights, or more roads, I mean. And get them focused on that because they have 1 city on the board, but only 1. They're still kind of lagging behind, even though they're at 8 victory points. And at this point, I would say Purple, if it was a human player, they would still have had the momentum if they had chosen to build on that third sweet spot instead before going for the road and the knight placement on the 12 brick over there. And the 9 ore became 11 ore because someone used Inventor and swapped it out. So now it's my turn. I'm hoping I can roll in Barbarians, and no, it's a yellow dice. But if 5 gets rolled, I'll grab some wheat, I'll grab a yellow progress card, and I'm just like, you know what, it's fine. I can be patient, it's just a matter of time. I do have Crane, I do have Medicine, it's just a matter of time. I could have actually used Medicine on this turn and won, but I'm like, no, I kind of want to prove a point in this video. I want it to be victory by Defender of Catan victory point as my 13th and final. So I'm like, maybe I'll just wait on it. I use Resource Monopoly, I steal some wood. I could do it. I could build a city even without Medicine. I don't need Medicine. I could still build that city, but I'm like, you know what? Let me just tease Orange some more. Build another road. And actually, I could have, not this turn, but next turn I could have taken Longest Road. Because now I'm tied with Orange. We both have 9 length roads respectively. And purple, what do you know? They bring in the barbarians. We get our 5th and final Defender of Catan victory point. Now, like in a very select few other games that I've showcased, I am at the winning amount of victory points, but the game's not over. The reason is because I didn't have 13 on my turn. It happened one turn after me on another player's turn. So all I have to do now to win the game is roll the dice. There is no way any player at this point has the cards to steal my metropolis. There's no way I can lose a city because the barbarians are nowhere near invading once again. You can't lose settlements once they are set on the board. They're permanent unless they get upgraded. I don't have Longest Road. I don't have to worry about that being stolen. All I have to do is roll the dice. That is the beauty of Defender of Catan victory points, because they are permanent, they are set in stone, they can never be taken away, and they really add that extra boost to your gameplay in Cities and Knights that you don't really expect unless you start winning Defender after Catan after Defender after Defender of Catan. So I would say if you get at least 3 Defender of Catan victory points and you're maybe at 9 or 10 victory points, I would say go for the 4th. Go heavy on using your resources and commodities to try to get that 4th and then possibly 5th Defender of Catan victory point. Because at that point, if the other players are not super close to winning, if they're maybe still kind of neck and neck with you at 9-10 victory points, that's just going to boost you ahead just enough ahead of them that if maybe you can also build a city or build a settlement on the board or take a metropolis, just supplementing your gameplay with these Defender of Catan victory points is just going to add that extra element of strategy to your game and allow you to win most of the time in these types of games with these types of setups. So thanks for watching. Let me know how important Defender of Catan is to you and your gameplay. And again, if you don't play Cities and Knights and you just watch, try it out. It's a lot of fun. I am always looking for players to play with online that we can, do a custom match for one ourselves instead of trying to find random players all the time. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and take care.